Good evening, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Speaking with Angels on Angel Heart Radio. I'm Teri Angel, your host tonight, and with me is the beautiful Karen Palmer. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Teri.
I'm so excited to be here with Karen tonight, and we've got a lot to share with you. But first, I want to do the introduction that the angels have channeled that they want me to speak at the beginning of each of my Speaking with Angels shows. So while I'm reading this, if you would just please share it out, share it on your timelines or in your pages to your family, your friends, whoever could use a word about angels tonight. Speaking with angels. Our angels are listening to our heart song. They hear our cries for help, our laughter, and our every need. When we reach out our hand, they take it under their wings to a place where only love resides. They wait patiently while we open our hearts to them. Will you open your heart as they speak to you tonight? My guest co-host, as I said, is Karen Palmer, and Karen and I have been co-creating and collaborating for a few years now, and it has been such a wonderful journey. We've done quite a bit of things together. We've taught classes, we've co-authored a book together, and now we're going to do some training in energy healing. So I am just very honored that Karen has come on tonight to co-host with me. Karen, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I love this show, and I'm honored to be a co-host for it because it's so important. I think that we really are acknowledging that the angels are coming in and helping us humans, and I love that you have a show dedicated to that because it's so important that we acknowledge the support and the incredible support team that we really do have.
We do. And many people, either they don't understand what the angels are for, what their purpose is for, or they might have just never really heard that the angels are here for us. So I think it is important to have that open discussion about the role that they play in our lives. And Karen, I know for you and I both, it has been a huge role in our own lives. Can you share how you first got introduced to the angels, how they came to you, and how that whole scenario played out with the angels?
Well, I came in with all of my multisensory gifts awakened. So I had my clairvoyance, all my clairs were wide awake. And so I didn't really understand or know how to navigate those gifts in this world. And the angels, when I was just a little girl, I started to have visitations with the angels where my parents were arguing and fighting a lot, and it was kind of an escape for me as a child. And I learned that the angels were always available to me, and that all I needed to do was just get myself quiet enough, and I'd be able to hear them and feel them, no matter how chaotic the outside world seemed to be. There was always that sense of serenity that I could feel with the angels. And as I got older, as I became, able to verbalize what I was experiencing, it was difficult because there were a lot of other humans who were not seeing the way that I saw things. And so, especially growing up in a very religious Roman Catholic family, that was a little bit of a challenge. Many of my family members were not seeing angels or hearing angels or wanting me to talk about the angels. And so I learned at a very young age that there were certain things that I could talk about and certain things that I wasn't allowed to talk about and really why, why that happened. And I can look back now and I can see my own mother had gifts, and she was scared of her gifts. And when she saw that I came in with even more gifts than what she had had, she really wanted to protect me. So it was really a sense of love that she was trying to protect me. So my childhood was interesting, and there were lots and lots of challenges in that time too. But I learned, at a very young age that it wasn't safe to talk about what I felt. And so that became something that just kind of stayed with me. And so there were certain people that I felt like I could talk to. And then of course into my, early, my early teens, that was when I kind of started getting into more problems with outside forces, trying to fit in as much as I possibly could, and kind of trying to ignore the angels so that I could just be like a normal kid, and that got me into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Your guardian angels were working overtime, weren't they?
They sure were. And like I said, it was an interesting, it was an interesting time because as I started to numb myself through alcohol and drugs and relationships, I tried so much to just be what everybody else. I thought I was, just to try to fit in as much as I possibly could. And that's where, it really started to, I felt really alone in the world because I didn't know how to express what was happening. I didn't really know what was, because the angels were always available to me. When I went into these lower frequencies and these lower vibrations and started to numb myself with, with chemicals, they weren't available as available. And I was doing my best to not have them be part of my life at that time.
Yeah, you didn't feel worthy.
Yeah, I don't know if it wasn't that I didn't feel worthy at that point, because I really didn't have the that belief in that in that time just yet. That was to come. But at the time, I just knew that it wasn't normal for me to be talking to angels and animals and to share that with other people. And that I knew that if I wanted to try and fit in with the people that I was trying to fit in with, that I just needed to do what they told me to do. And that's where I believe that's where it all, when my dad left, my dad and my mom divorced when I was 10. And when my dad left, I gave the meaning to myself that, I just need to please, I just need to, keep him happy and he'll want to stay. And so that started a pattern with men and with, relationships, not just with men, but with friends and with employers and everything. I just had this, it became like a defense mechanism that I used to, as long as I performed and pleased everybody, I felt safe, and everything just kind of flowed. But that really wasn't the truth.
But they were always there for you, Karen. They kept you safe.
And they did, absolutely. And, you know, I got into a very abusive relationship from when I was 15 until I was 21 years old. And that was when I really needed the angels to come in, and called them in, and realized that, you know, there was support for me, even though I didn't have the support in my outside circumstances, that I could always find that support with the angels. And that really, you know, got me out of that abusive relationship, that and the love of my grandmother, who stepped in and said, we're not going to keep having this happen to you. And, you know, my grandmother was another person who I just really, thinking about it, coming back to thinking about, my grandmother, and both of my grandmothers on both sides, my mom's and dad's side, they were both very supportive of me seeing and hearing angels.
Yeah, your grandmother, especially the one that I was able to communicate with, she was so loving and just knew that you were taken care of. She knew you were safe as long as you were.
And she was, she was with me for my whole life, really. I mean, 97, she passed on when she was 97. And I went to her house when I was born. My first weekend in the world, I was with my grandma because my mom had to have her appendix out. And so they had to cut, my grandma had me at her house that very first weekend. And it was with my grandma that when I had the abusive relationship had been going on for a long time, and I had landed in the hospital, and I had 2 black eyes, I had broken ribs, I had a bleeding ulcer. And I remember sitting in the hospital bed and having her walk in and feeling so embarrassed and so ashamed. But do you see the pattern though? Like the pattern was, you know, I was staying with him, and I was trying so hard to make everybody believe that it was good. And I was engaged to be married to him. And, you know, when she came in, she walked into the hospital room, and I'll never forget that moment when she just looked at me and she smiled, and she really, really saw me, and she really, really said, this doesn't have to keep going on. Right. And I was embarrassed. Like I said, what do you mean this? I just walked into a door. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing happening, you know? And I could feel like even the nurses and the other people, you know, going, that poor girl in there. She's like, really, that poor girl in there. And I kept hearing that. And I thought, you know what? This isn't me. This isn't me. And I realized that one of my beliefs was I deserve this treatment. And my grandmother said to me, and it really hit hard. It really was like almost like a 1-2 punch. And she said, you deserve a beautiful life. And I didn't believe that at the time, you know? And so it was really amazing when she said it. And something inside of me with the angels and the remembrance of my beauty and my magnificence and my true self was kind of awakened, like when almost like a little shake that said, you deserve a beautiful life. And that's when I started to realize I need to get out of this relationship. And I canceled the wedding, and I moved to California. I went away, and but of course, if you don't really look at the problem, and you can pack the bags, but if you take everything with you and you don't really do the healing work and the trauma work, that happened, you know, for me when I got back to California. I swore I wasn't going to ever let anything like that happen again. And before I knew it, it was all happening again. And this time it got to the point where I was in such abusive relationships and really addicted to drugs and ended up homeless. And that was when I really called in the angels and really said, there's nobody else for me to blame here. I'm looking at my part in this. I was actually reading 3 books at the time. I was reading Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life, Wayne Dyer, You'll See It When You Believe It, and the Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I had those 3 books, and I was living out of my little white Hyundai and with my sweet little puppy, my lucky girl. And during that time, I was, you know, really expanding my animal communication skills with my lucky girl. And she was really, really helping me to see that I could look through her with unconditional, I could see myself through unconditional eyes, through the love of her. And so that really did wake things up. And that was when I started to see that those patterns, you know, were something that I could be changing with the help of the angels. And that's when I really started to connect with the angels and allow them to help me.
Karen, I've heard this story many times, and it always touches my heart. It's always such a heart-wrenching story, and I see it. I just actually visualize you, you know, in that, in all that pain that you were in, and that place where you were just alone. You know, I mean, you were with Lucky Girl, but you were alone. And I'm so glad the angels were there for you. I'm just grateful every day that they saved you and that we were able to connect then years later. And we actually connected on Facebook. And I'm so happy that we did meet up, and we met actually physically in person after that. And we've done so many things together. Oh my gosh. I can't even list all the things that we've collaborated on, but it has been so much fun through the years to be with you and to see what's next. And I feel like that's what we always do. It's like we go and we do all these projects, and then it's like, okay, now what? And we found out what the now what is, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting when we tell a story, and it's almost like you're watching a movie when you're telling the story, because, you know, I can talk about these things. I mean, I had some really, really difficult times, and I can talk about these things now without an emotional charge, and I can share my wounds as wisdom. And these wounds that I had, I think many of us, and this is why I work with children, is because many of us come into this world and we are pure love, pure joy. We are these beings of love and light, and we're just wanting to be expressive and have fun, and then we come into certain families that have different ideas. And really, I believe that, you know, we choose our families. Like, Louise Hay said it too, but I really believe that we do choose our families. We do choose my mom and my dad. And my mom and my dad are a perfect balance of what I needed for the experience for me to become who I am today. And who I am today is who I always was. There, you know, I just needed those experiences. Sometimes we need to, in the human experience, in the human condition, we need to go to the extreme of who we aren't, the contrast of who we aren't, to remember who we really are. And I really believe that during that time when I was homeless, I learned the principles of abundance, and I learned what it felt like to understand that we are co-creating this experience, and the angels will help me ask, and that we have this because, you know, when I made that wish, and when I was in that, when I was in the car and I was reading these books, and I was really connecting with the angels, and I was asking, what is my role in this? What can I do differently? What is it that I can be doing? And reading Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, and doing the affirmations felt so good. It felt right. It felt, you know, like it was what every time I would say those words, it felt like that was truth, that was truth, that was truth, you know, and the angels would give me resonance, and they would give me confirmation, that was truth, that was truth. And then I read the chapter that Wayne Dyer wrote, and he wrote a quote from Albert Einstein that was, the most important question you can ask yourself is, do you live in a friendly or a hostile universe? And at the time, I really saw it as hostile. I mean, it was abusive, it was painful. And I thought, wow, that's a really powerful question. And I said, I'm going to do this like a science experiment, and I'm going to just see it as friendly. I'm going to see it as friendly. It was because of that when I read that quote, and I made that idea of doing that science experiment, that strangers started coming up and giving me food and making sure that my dog had food. It was through the kindness of strangers that I was able to get off the streets and off of drugs, and to be able to believe in myself again. And so what I want to say is, when you trust the angels, and then they will open the doors for you to be able to trust the humans again. We are all beautiful beings that are having this human experience. And when somebody does something painful like that, like my ex-fiance, I understand why we attracted each other. I understand now, because we were best friends. We started to be best friends when we were 11 years old, when my dad left and my parents divorced. There was a fort that we could go and hang out at, and we hung out as little kids did and played in the fort. And his mom and dad fought, and his dad pulled a gun on his mom. And so these patterns are things that, you know, when he became abusive with me, and I allowed the abuse to continue, those were patterns. And so what I find now is that we as humans need to have more compassion with each other. And we have to realize that, you know, certain situations come into our life, and they awaken us. They awaken us to be able to see in a different way. You know, when I was angry and when I was blaming Michael, my ex-fiance, I was so unhappy, and I was searching and searching and searching for something to blame, and somebody, you know, just to get it out of me, just to get it out of me. And when the angels were coming to me and were saying, the answer is forgiveness. Forgiveness is the key to your happiness. Forgive, forgive, forgive. And, you know, when I started to forgive, that was when all these doors just started just flying open, you know. And I say that honestly, that's when global kindness going viral, that's when it really got started for me, was because of the kindness of strangers and the angels that helped me to bring me back home to who I really am. And I wanted more than anything to be able to teach what I learned to help other people. And, you know, that's what I mean by wounds to wisdom. And that's what I mean by when the angels come in to help us. We all we need to say is, angels, be here now. Angels, come here now. Help me now, you know, because it's that simple.
Yes, and I believe in angels.
Yes.
Just to make that statement, to let them know, I'm open to you. I'm open to you, angels. And
Yeah,
here,
when we say I believe in angels, that opens that doorway for them to come in to this third dimension, because we have in this third dimension the free will. And so that was a really powerful, you know, really powerful experience that lives in me. And I get to work with children, I get to work with teenagers, and I get to break those cycles by helping children, my own, you know, that were the same age as I was, you know, going through divorce, and helping them to see things differently. And also, you know, bringing the angels into their life at an early age through inner journeys, and helping them to expand and really be comfortable in expressing their gifts. And I find that to me has been such a healing experience, is to be able to help others to remember their own magnificence.
you do that so well. You do, Karen. You do so much out in the world. And I was talking earlier before I came on the show to someone, and I said, you know, you all think I do a lot. Karen runs circles around me. Because you have that drive and you have that passion. That's something that we've had in common for years now. That we both feel like that message that's coming through so strongly from the angels, it just needs to go out, and we want everybody to hear it. And that's why we do what we do.
Absolutely. And also because, you know, the angels are available for everyone. And when, you know, we have been taught, I have been taught, I was taught to believe that there were only certain people that were able to hear angels, and there were certain, you know, ways that we could connect if we went through the proper channels. And, you know, the priests and the nuns, they have a deeper and more connected relationship with God, and that we could do that if we go to church. And, you know, all these jump through the hoops, this is how you can do this. And that never ever fit. It never fit. It never felt right. You know, and I found myself, you know, hearing over and over again people saying to me, well, you just have to have blind faith. And it was, I didn't feel that way. And I didn't feel the energy that they were teaching me was truth. And I just stopped listening to that. You know, I really didn't. And this is what I want to say to everybody: really, really trust your inner wisdom. Much, much more. And this was another hard lesson for me. Much, much more than anyone in your life. Anyone. I don't care if it's who. Your opinion and your beliefs are the most important for your human experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if we do tune in and we ask for the clarity from the angels, we get it. We get it. And then we have that intuition, we have that gut instinct that says, step away. You know, that energy is not where you should be right now. And they guide us down each path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a couple of years ago, I was guided to do awakening, the angelic awakenings to abundance with the angels, and they literally asked me to step my human self aside and in front of the live stream for 40 days, go through 42 days, I think it was, because it was 21, 21 days. The first 21 days was to attract abundance. And the second 21 days was to be open to receive abundance. And so those 42 days were, again, another opportunity for another level of connection and another relationship. And they gave me a song that I recorded with How to Connect with Angels for the angel prayer. So that's on Alexa. And they gave me a song, there are angels everywhere. And that was another gift. That was another gift when we need the angels, all we have to do is ask them in. It doesn't really matter how we ask them in. There isn't like a particular prayer or message or anything. All you have to do is say, please help me. Just please help me. And you will find that there is so much support with the angels, with the ascended masters, with our loved ones who have passed on. My grandma left her body when she was 97, just a couple years ago, 3 years ago almost. And she has been guiding my footsteps and helping me to know, to really have, like you said, clarity in what I'm doing in the world. And people see all the things I'm doing. They say, wow, you do so much. Honestly, that is my magnificence. That's my magnificent self. That my human self couldn't possibly keep up with what I'm doing with my magnificent self. But what we need to learn how to do, and what the angels helped me learn how to do, is to integrate the feeling and the frequency of love and joy so that we can integrate that into our human self. And then that way we have more than enough energy to do all the things that we came here. We're timeless beings having this human experience, and it's crazy when people say, I just don't have the time to do that. It's just a really silly limiting belief that the angels have said over and over again to me. Remind them that they are timeless.
Yes, exactly. And I want to go back also, you were talking about anytime that we need something from the angels, all we have to do is ask. And you don't even have to know a name. Names are a human thing. We have to have a name to call somebody or to call the angels by, or God, or, whatever. The name is not as important as the desire to have them come in to help you. And you don't have to know that Archangel Gabriel will give you clarity. You just ask, well, that angel that can help me to understand right now, can you just please help me be here with me? So it really doesn't matter if you don't know the angels' names. Just know that they're there, and know that for whatever need you have, there's an angel for that. It's like there's an app for that. There's an angel for that.
Absolutely. And they did make that very clear too, that we as humans try to label things, and we also try to give them a frequency or a hierarchy that's our human self. That's when our human self says that certain people have these gifts and certain people don't have these gifts. That's all human stuff. That's not true. And the angels have made it very clear that that's my job. One of my jobs here on the planet, one of my main important jobs is to be the example and show them, all of them, that this is a playground and not a prison. And I get to choose in every moment how I decide to express that. And like I said, I choose, like I told you this on the other day when we were talking, I choose only easy peasy lemon squeezy. If it's not easy peasy lemon squeezy, I'm just not interested anymore. I'm just not playing in that field of the illusion of the separateness anymore. I'm not playing in the field of, lack and scarcity and all the things, that the shame and the blame, all those frequencies. I'm just not playing in those fields anymore. My playground is joy, and it's all about spreading love and kindness, and me staying in my own hula hoop, and my hula hoop is filled with love and kindness and joy and playfulness. And that's what we get to do in this human experience. And the angels have explained to me, many of us on the planet right now have this job. We know, we've known since we were very, very young, that there's a reason I'm here. It's not just these human conditions. It's not just these human circumstances. It's not these relationships. When relationships come apart and they fall apart and things start to, you start to see, okay, these are your patterns. This is not your true self. And so when you start to see, like relationships or family members, even family members who don't quite get you or don't quite understand where you're, with your gifts, it's not about you trying to change them or fix them or anything like that. It's about you staying as the lighthouse and not being a flashlight that points on their problems. Oh, this is what you need to do. You need to read this book. Oh, you know what? After you read this book, oh, watch this movie. This movie will help you. People don't want to feel like they're not enough. And so if we stay in our own loving energy, and we give from a place of abundance, we give from this cup is overflowing, right? My cup is overflowing, and I can give and give and give when my cup is overflowing. But also, if you don't give to yourself, then you really don't have anything to give to others. And so that's another piece of it. It's like a tightrope, walking the tightrope, like that song, walking the tightrope, And when you're walking that tightrope in this world, we need to learn how to really balance our gifts and share from a place of abundance, not lack, not scarcity. Like there's more than enough for everyone, It
is an abundant universe. And Karen, I remember a few years ago, I heard you say something, and I just absolutely loved it. And I think about it all the time. And it was mind your own vibration. Mind your own vibration. I love that. And if we could all just have those words in front of us at all times, what a different world it would be.
Yeah.
If we were paying attention to what we're doing and not what Jane and Dick and Harry and all of them are up to, and trying to manipulate, and like you said, trying to tell them how to live their lives. It's their movie. And I always go back to this. I'm living my movie. I'm the star of my movie. And I have people coming in and out as the characters, but they don't tell me what to do. So I shouldn't go to somebody else's movie and say, you need to rewrite that script. You need to do it that way. So when we're minding our own vibration, we're paying attention to ourselves and our relationship with the angels, with God, with spirit, and who we really are in our own spiritual world. So I love that. And I wanted to bring that out because I think it needs to be said more out in the world.
And I think also, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that when I find myself in the illusion of the separateness with other humans, it always has to do with me cutting myself off from my relationship with my true self. And again, it's a pattern, and it's it's something that we have as our human condition and our human challenges. If we try to fit in and we try to do what we think everybody else wants us to do to keep everybody else happy, to, please everybody, and again, we have stepped away from our true self, and we can't hear anymore the clarity, and we're just running from one thing to the other to try and keep this one happy, and oh, this person needs help and that person. And honestly, that is still coming back to the angels. Archangel Haniel has been helping me so much with this, that is a limiting belief, that I am not enough, that I need to prove myself, and that others need to appreciate me or approve of me in order and accept me and understand me. That's a big one. They need to understand me, or I'm not enough, or I'm not doing enough. And so, when we blame somebody outside in a relationship, or we blame somebody and we say, oh, I just cut that person out of my life, I'm not having anything to do with that person anymore. It really has to do with us cutting ourselves off. And we really can't do that. We always come back.
It's hard to hide from yourself.
Hard to hide from yourself. Absolutely. Wherever you are, there you are, right? Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness, Karen, this has been so amazing to talk to you, and we need to cut the show short tonight. That was kind of hard to say, because Karen and I do another show right after this, and it is Chanting for Change. So we knew that we were going to have a shortened show tonight, but oh my gosh, this time just flew by. And we didn't get into a lot of the things that we wanted to share with everyone, but we're going to do this again. Karen will be here with you, and we will share a lot more of our journey with the angels and how they have guided us in our lives to interact with each other and to bring things forward into the world. And we have a baby that we're bringing forward into the world, and it's doing time heals, which is an energy healing modality, and we're doing that for animals. So that's something that we do want to discuss, and to let everybody know that we're going to be doing some training for that. And that's one of our projects. So keep your minds open. If it's something that appeals to you, we will have that information out very shortly of how you can sign up for our class and be certified to do energy healing for animals. And Karen, I'm so excited about that. Our book came out 2 months ago, I think. It hasn't been out very long. It is on Amazon. It's called Time Heals for Animals. And you can go look that up. And if you're interested in our class, then just stay tuned, because we'll be giving you all the info on that at Enlightened World Network.
Absolutely. It's very, very awesome to be here with you. Thank you for having me be your co-host for Angel Heart Radio. I love it.
We had a beautiful audience. Thank you all for coming on. I don't want to miss anybody, but I want to say hello to some of you. Sharon Boyle has been with us. Carol Allen, Julie Kiss. Who else do we have? Carrie Klingon Butcher. And I love Carrie's comment. She says, "We are the song they are singing," talking about the angels. I love that. That's such a beautiful statement, because we really are.
We really are. And what an honor. Like, I'm so grateful and so humbled to be an angelic messenger. And I love what Jean says. I did cover many things that you needed to hear. It's amazing how the angels work. Absolutely. That's why the angels Archangel Haniel has been working with me so much to give me the courage to share what I went through, and share it from a place of authority and from a place of abundance and joy and not a place of scarcity and lack and abuse, because that's not where I am anymore. Those were those experiences, and those experiences really did awaken me to the truth of who I really am. And so I highly recommend that everyone who does watch this, and whether you watch it live or on the replay, that you watch it with somebody that you love, somebody that you care about, somebody that you really, really would love to have a deeper and more meaningful relationship with, and maybe just haven't been able to. And really realize that even if they are not getting you or understanding you, it's not important. It's not important. They don't need to get you or understand you. They're going to awaken in their own time, space, reality, in their own dream, in their own movie, you know, just like Teri said, they're going to awaken. It's not your job to wake them up. Your job is to stay awake and to be the lighthouse and not be a flashlight pointing out all their problems. Because when we do that, who wants to be around that? Really, who wants to be around that?
So true, Karen. This has been awesome, and thank you. And Julie says this show hit home so very much. Thank you both so much. Thank you, Julie, for being here. You know, when we show up where we're supposed to be. And I've always said from the moment that I even spoke a word in public, whoever is supposed to hear the message will be there to hear it. And I just put that intention out with everything that I do. So you all were meant to be here tonight. And thank you for being such a wonderful audience. We love you so much. And if you're still awake and up for it, we're going to go do some chanting. We have a beautiful time together at 9 o'clock Eastern, which is coming up real soon. And we hope that you'll jump in with us for that as well. And I'll be back next week on Angel Heart Radio at 8 o'clock. Thank you all for being here with me tonight. I love you so much. Many blessings to you. Karen, I have loved this time with you. I love you, my soul sister.
I love you too so much. So much. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's all chant together in a couple minutes. Love you guys.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.